taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and insights about games and the gaming industry. It is June 15th, 2019. This is the Saturday morning edition of the show. My name is Ashenity, and I'm here as always with Cyberpunk. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing good. Just loaded up the live video to kind of watch us as we do this. And my first ad is a Cyberpunk video. So
Cyberpunk? What's that?
Yeah. Clearly, they are knowing they
know their demographics. That algorithm. Obey the algorithm. Welcome, everybody. If you're listening live this morning, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And don't forget to slam that like button. It likes it rough. And it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. And if you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, we're glad you're here as well. And we appreciate your likes and the follows. It does take us a day or two to get the podcast up to the audio platforms. But we're doing it faster now than we have before, so that's good. But if you want the latest info as it happens, we encourage you to hit the link in the description to subscribe to the Triple S League YouTube channel, where in addition to the podcast, you'll find lots of other fun and informative gaming content there as well. We do all kinds of stuff here. Hello to everybody who's been chatting. Sinister Sinner, Sword Sister. You two posting right on top of each other there, that creates a bit of a tongue twister. It's not easy for a Saturday morning. Andre Velasquez, Russ Hunt, Miguel Figueroa. My apologies for butchering your name. I hate mispronouncing people's names. Benny Carrillo, out of order 42. And Russ Hunt, I might have said you already. Thomas, Greek Strawberry. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Catriux, good to see you as well. Hard War UK. And now we're demonetized. Oh, just kidding. Hey, everybody else. Oh, I see a ton of people posting messages. There was a couple of you posting messages like 11 to 12 hours ago. Unfortunately, those are no longer in my queue, so I can't shout you out. But welcome, everybody. We've got an exciting show for you today. Later on in the show, we're going to be doing a trailer breakdown with footage, where we're just going to be going through it bit by bit and commentating on all of the little goodnesses that we can find in there. All the things. We're going to comment on all the things. That's going to happen a little bit later in the show. We are going to address some of the negativity that's been surrounding, that's been coming out of some of the press that's been surrounding Cyberpunk 2077. There's been a lot of odd little criticisms, and now Mike Pondsmith has responded to some of this, and also Cyberpunk. You have been doing some digging, and you've discovered some interesting little tidbits about what's actually going on, and I know you can't say.
Yeah, we're not going to talk. So we're still waiting on a few sources and information and packets and various other things. So we are definitely looking into this kind of stuff. I can guarantee you deeper than pretty much anybody else, and we're going to have I'm going to talk about it in some case in a few different ways, but we're still gathering some information. We're still gathering some stuff. But if you could see the tone or see kind of where certain things are handling, you're starting to kind of get more of an idea. And I have been talking to some of you directly and have been kind of putting out little tidbits of information here and there. So it's basically we have a very, very interesting
You do have some juicy stuff to share today, correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have some stuff that we need to set the record straight on, and then we'll start to I'll go into it as much as I can today.
Okay.
But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting, and we're also going to try to react to the gameplay as well, I believe. So, no.
If there's we went through
we'll go through the articles. Yeah.
Right. We went through a lot of details about the gameplay on Wednesday's show, but yeah, Cyb wants to look at some of the reviews of that, and so we will do that as well. I would like to just take a moment, just on the note of the negativity surrounding Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know, man. It seems like Schreier has completely lost it. Jason Schreier posted this week, spoke to CD Projekt Red boss Marcin Iwinski. Now, let me just stop there and say, I doubt it's easy to get time with Marcin Iwinski, the CEO, well, co-CEO and co-founder of CD Projekt Red, or CD Projekt, I guess. And so what does Schreier choose to ask about? Cyberpunk crunch, controversies over trans issues, and GOG layoffs, and a bunch of other things. And then somebody replied to this tweet saying, sorry, hang on a second. I was looking at the wrong tweet thread.
Yeah,
okay.
Wrong tweet thread.
Dustpan replied, it would have been nice to get information on relevant things like the scope of the game, size of the world, etc. Good to hear you made solid use of your time, of your interview time, eye roll. Which echoes my thoughts exactly. But then Schreier himself replied, saying, if you want to read interviews that ask questions about how many polygons will be in an upcoming video game, there are plenty of other websites out there for you. You heard it here, folks. Schreier himself is recommending, if you actually want to learn about the video games, go to some other website. Kotaku's not for you. What on earth are you thinking, Jason? What possessed you to tweet this? Even if you... This is just dumb. Telling people to go to some other website if they want to get actual information about the game. Such as we would get if we watch Yang Yea's interview with one of the lead quest designers. I was watching that just before going live today, and he actually had a set of questions from his audience. That, you know, he took the most requested questions and was putting them to this lead quest designer, and we got some interesting information. We got answers to some of the questions that we've discussed on our podcast before, including, you know, what's up with the driving? Is it going to be a GTA sort of freestyle thing where you can drive anywhere, do anything? You could, you know, run people down if you want. Will there be a police response, that kind of a thing? Or is the driving kind of on rails? And we found out it's open GTA style. You can do whatever you want, and there will be a police response. No word on whether or not that'll have broader consequences in the world around you. I imagine it probably will, knowing them, but you can, you know, if you start committing crimes on the road, of course, the police will respond. But one of the interesting things is that depending on the district you're in, you're going to get a different faction of law enforcement responding to you. In some places, it'll be corpo police or the actual city police, corpo security, I should say, the corporates, their private military / police force, whatever it is. In other districts that are controlled by gangs, you'll get the gangs coming after you. So, and then of course you also have the that district where the nomads live. What is that called? Like it's outside the city, sort of wastelandy. I can't.
Well,
remember.
I mean, I can't remember the name of it either at the moment, which is weird.
You've got that district as well. They haven't shown that one at all.
Yeah, they've got there's sections of the city, you know, like Pacifica, that aren't exactly city anymore. They're more like battlegrounds and wasteland. So yeah, there's a few of that.
Is it called the Badlands, Dark Hollow? I can't remember.
I think it was the Badlands, but I also remember that like pretty much every area where it's bad land is usually called the Badlands. So
True. Yeah, Pacifica is a region that is mostly controlled by gangs. That's not the one I'm thinking of. Anyway, whatever. The point is, there's different districts, there's different sub-districts within the districts. There are different factions of even law enforcement, or, quote, law enforcement, such as the gangs that control the different areas. So that's very interesting. One thing he did confirm is that there really isn't any kind of a reputation system that governs, you know, for example, the different corporations and their opinion of you, but their reactions to you will change depending on how you interact with them in various quests. So I was hoping for some kind of a global reputation system. I understand that's probably a very difficult thing to implement.
Well, everybody has a different morals, so if you're a goody two-shoe, you're going to be valued in some places and hated in others.
Absolutely. And that's the kind of thing I was hoping for.
A psycho who mows people down, you're going to be really popular in some areas and hated in pretty much everywhere else. So, that's built into the game. So yeah, there's not going to be a global reputation system, although there is going to be a kind of like a morality tracker of a sort. So it's like if you butcher like 50 million innocent people, I mean, obviously that's going to lead to problems as far as like gameplay and story goes. But no, there's not a single reputation that like you can raise or lower with everybody. So
yeah, absolutely. Sinister Sinner is saying yes, it's the Badlands, and it surrounds the whole city. Okay, that sounds right. I can't believe I'm just the name of that actual district is slipping my mind. Maybe because it's so similar to, like, there's so many games that have wastelands, that kind of a thing. Anyway, so yes, so Young did a good interview. There's been some other websites and YouTubers and such who have been doing, putting out really good content about the game itself, which seems to me is what is it?
What gaming?
That's what I'm interested in.
It
seems like what gaming journalism should be, but Schreier seems to be basically admitting here it's not about the games, it's about social activism for him. So if that's what you want, well, you know where to go. If that's not what you want, if you want to actually learn about the game itself, you also know where not to go. So there we go. All right, so let's get into the other aspect of this, the journalist responses to this. There's been a lot of negativity, and there's been a lot of criticism aimed at CD Projekt Red for a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with the game itself. We had the inclusion of a piece of art within the game world itself, an advertisement within the game world that people found controversial, as well as a couple other things. So Saib, I'm not entirely sure which direction you want to go with that, so I'll just let you take it from here.
Well, that would be good, except I'm still typing. So, can you? No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, basically, the press. Do you have those quotes from Mike ready?
I do. Yep. If we need them. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, the Jason Schreier stuff, which, I mean, we've been hammering him for a while now on basically being, he's looking for mud, he's looking for clicks more than he's looking to actually give proper information. And they're jumping on things that either make sense or don't make sense, depending on or interpreting it, which is a really big thing. They're interpreting it, and they're framing the narrative, and they're framing the reader's thoughts on it. Like, we know a lot of game devs. We know a fair number of game journalists, and we know people who know more people. And people like Bellular and some of the other people who review and talk games nonstop. We ask them, like, what are your thoughts on this, on these issues, on these problems, on these accusations that they're a bad company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the response is always like, what news? And you have to literally fill them in. Like, even as connected as we are, Ash was not, didn't understand the concept or not the concept, didn't understand the amount of people that were raising some of these flags and talking about this stuff, because in the circles that we normally walk in, we don't hear about this stuff, because we talk to people who are excited about games, not excited about like minor grievances within games that are for the most part made up. And I'm going to break down a little bit into why some of this recent stuff was essentially made up. because I'm going to get into it really deep in probably a video that we're going to put out later this week. We might talk a little bit about this tomorrow on the community cast. I'm not sure though. We might just not talk about it at all. But generally speaking, the accusation that that came out this week on articles, and I'm not even going to repeat it because I'm not going to repeat it and get into it because it's kind of a false story, and that's the whole point. They want to sell you a false story. So instead of getting people to click on their articles because of important new news and seeing the importance of what's going on within the game, within did they fix the gunplay, has it improved, instead it's like, oh no, we see a slight or a grievance that we might be able to capitalize on, which according to them they flip-flop on every few minutes. Like whenever they're talking about this stuff, they flip back and forth on this, and it's a little insulting, and it's a little bit disgusting when you constantly see this kind of pop up, because they're not looking for truth, they're creating truth. And the key thing here is that I'm going to touch on it very, very briefly, and I'm going to try to we don't want to get demonetized or deranked in the algorithm, so I'm going to try to talk about this in terms that are not going to get flagged. So there's this one character in these ads, which was in the gameplay that was put out last year, so I don't know how it wasn't missed. But there's this girl who has a hot rod, and this hot rod is clearly visible in her clothing if you're looking in the right place. And it's actually the ad is actually, hey, mix things up. Now, mix things up is kind of an open term, and what is missing from the hot rod would be the trailer attachment. But it appears as if it's not just the fact that there's a hot rod and no trailer attachment, that there's also a garage, which makes it so that this is not a generic car show. This is a car show that is incredibly different.
You're killing me, man.
If you know in the lore, Mr. Stud Technologies can offer said things. If you want a instead of wanting a hot rod, if you want a horse and buggy attachment instead, you can get a horse and buggy attachment. If you want a Black Panther attachment, you can get a Black Panther attachment, because again, technology has moved past anything that we can even basically even come up with right now. Like as a prototype, our best prototypes don't even come close to how this is affected in the future world. In a future dystopian world that has people basically as objects. And the complaint is that this is they're using people in this, they're using this particular person, and it's offensive. Yeah, you also shoot people in the face, which typically I find offensive. Just so we're clear, I do not condone nor encourage anybody to walk into even an area filled with gang members and start shooting people in faces, because that typically is not going to result in a better society. In fact, that's usually just going to trigger, insanity and violence. So the fact that the articles referencing Cyberpunk would bring this, again, this slight that it doesn't even function in the world in which we live in now, because the technology is completely different. The fact that these articles go out of their way to criticize the game, to say, hey, Cyberpunk and cdpr are very bad people because they are not understanding how this works. No, you don't understand how this works, because I have some friends who go from one thing to another, or they've done it, or they're in the process of doing it, and I can tell you that they're all insulted. They're all insulted by the lumping of they're going in and they're getting they're doing a full conversion kit on their vehicle, and they're going from a truck to a sports car, and it's a very difficult, long process. But one thing they are not is something that contains both a garage and a car. And it's insulting for them to be lumped into something that is not what they are.
Well, I think even beyond that, that there's no analog between what we see in this ad and the real world at all. This is an important lesson in context when you're interpreting anything, and I like it that you use that word. When you interpret anything, context is absolutely 100% key, and if you don't take some time to study the context, you're going to come up with a wrong interpretation. And the fact of the matter...
not to mention the fact that this world is completely within the confines of a world where people are being used.
Well, that's one of the points.
And that's
that
the whole point of the damn world.
Yeah, the artists themselves came out and said that this is this is what's going on in the world. First of all, this is seen as a beautiful thing, and it's being exploited by corporations to sell you a soft drink. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is a world where you can get an attachment. This is not, again, no analog between this and anybody in the real world. This is a world where a woman decided, let's assume she started as a woman. We don't know. But she decided to get this cybernetic attachment. I'm sure she could have gotten 5 if she wanted to, and then her pants would fit her like a glove.
Mm-hmm. And this is important because, again, this is inventing slight, but it's also taking the current rules. It's taking the current rules that we have, and it's twisting them to fit into this more to fit into a perspective in which they can then launch an attack. It's not about answering or being consistent, because again, I talked to a lot of people. In fact, I spent a couple of the last 2 days speaking with a representative of one of the Pride movements, to whom I work quite closely with, and I said, so just to clarify, the concept of slut shaming, or in this case, keeping with our previous analogies, doing a car show and somebody criticizing you for being at the car show or enjoying the car show or being a member of the car show, because car shows are not cool. You can't do car shows. And I asked them, I said, this is not cool, right? This is like, nothing's changed on this recently. I was under the impression that we're not supposed to condemn people for what they like to do with their cars. And the response was, absolutely not. And I said, well, please explain to me how we're shaming this hypothetical character inside this video game because they're using what they have as far as the vehicles go to make money by doing a car show. Now, just kind of out of curiosity, I said, would somebody get away with this if they were going to, if one of these people became a model and was quite successful and had this great modeling campaign, and they were very, attractive, generally speaking, or whatever, and people started coming after them saying, hey, you need to take that down because that's unacceptable. What would the reaction be? And the person responded, well, it would be anger, and justifiably so, because that's insane. We don't jump on people and butcher them for wanting to, show, wanting to take pride in who they are. Like, that goes against the very concept. So what we see here with Jason Schreier, with Polygon, with Gaming Sutra, is that basically what they're doing is they're twisting the rules, turning them around, and in some cases doing a full 180, depending on the interview and depending on the person that they're talking to. And it's disgusting because it doesn't move to just they're attacking the company, or they're attacking the game, or they're attacking an idea within the game. No, these people are trying to organize a boycott of Cyberpunk 2077, of CDPR, and of Poland as a whole, which is really confusing. So let's pull up the shorter of the two responses from Mike. I'm going to kind of quickly cover this, and we're not going to quote it exactly verbatim. So if you are listening on the podcast, we will have we'll have a link or something like that in the description, or we'll just actually put it. Yeah, we'll no, that's the wrong thingy. Oh, there you go. All right. So yeah, we'll have a linky here to the stuff. Why is my footage just so terrible? Oh, that's because I'm on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
So basically, just for context here, so this is a Reddit thread in which Mike Pondsmith is responding to somebody who's basically saying Poland is really, really bad. You can read. You can read on your screen.
The other one first.
What's that?
I
you wanted the other one first. I'm sorry.
I said the shorter of the two.
You're right. Sorry.
This is. But either one of these things this is Mike Pondsmith's personal Reddit account, and he's responding to these people who are throwing at him accusations that, well, he's just not being progressive enough, or he's just not being woke enough, or he's just not. This is a guy who created the most liberal, progressive world in storytelling that I think we've ever seen. That's mainstream in any way, shape, or form. Like this, in the Cyberpunk universe, you have people that are basically, they're basically just machines, and that's what technology has brought down upon them. Is they're just basically nothing. And it's really interesting, and it's justifiable 100%. Where he says he's getting really tired of well-meaning people on internet chat boards patronizingly telling him that what he, as a black person, as a creator of one of the most unique stories in the entire world, where gender doesn't mean anything, where all of this stuff doesn't mean anything, and they're telling him what he should and should not be offended by. And they have the nerve to tell him that and call him some of the most racist, bigoted things I've ever heard people call anybody, and it's especially hurtful when it's used against somebody who's, black. It's absolutely disgusting. And this is what we're getting at. This is just the surface level stuff. You can move on to the next one here. This is just and I want to point this out. He goes, tells them to STFU for a change. And good on Mike for standing his ground on this, because this is unacceptable behavior. Now, you can expect this again from well-meaning people on internet chat boards, but why we're getting this from company heads of journalism throwing this at them, people who I have to admit they're in the top 1%. They have extreme power. They have extreme wealth. A lot of them are trust fund kids. They've never known, I myself, I don't know about Ash, but I myself growing up went days without food, and that's rough on somebody. And that's rough, showing up at school, basically there's some crackers and that was about it, and that's because we were this thing that these people don't understand and have never heard of and never experienced, called being poor, And this is the kind of stuff that these people are telling us, oh, no, you don't understand suffering. It's like, oh, kindly, to quote Mike, kindly STFU for a change. Please, just kind of stop it. And so these articles going after CDPR, going after these companies, it's a lot deeper than and you realize, because there's an organized effort behind this. It's not just organized, it's they're looking to attack. They're looking to damage CDPR. They're looking to hurt this company because they don't want them to be successful. And you'll say, wow, are they really taking this concept of being offended over this thing? Are they really taking that this far? No, actually. And this is where I have more information that I'm not going to share right now. I'm going to allude to it. The people that are involved in this stuff, that are at the core of what's going on, they're not doing this for clicks or because they have an ideology that they're pushing. Instead, what they are specifically going after and pushing for is to damage a company because they're associated and tied to certain people who run other companies who are direct competitors to CDPR and have vested interests in making sure that Cyberpunk 2077 does not do well, and for certain that GOG does not do well. And they are attacking them based off of this. Why is it that Jason, in one of his articles, talked directly and asked directly about the state of GOG and if it was in fact, going to succeed, or if it was, in trouble? Was it just because it's been in the news recently? Or was there a point to frame the narrative in which the reader is reading to say, oh, that GOG thing, it's not very good. Don't buy anything there because it might not be there in a few little few months. They're not a very good company. Whatever you do, don't buy your games through GOG. This is what the article is saying. Why do these other people, if you look at all of these articles, you'll start to see a little bit of a common thread. You might want to try and avoid this because it might be really problematic. That's what you're getting. That's what's being kind of put out. That's what's kind of being spread around. And it's really disturbing. But even more so is how and in the ways that they frame the articles and they try to get you to see and feel and think this stuff through without, again, having basically zero evidence to back this stuff up on. And it's very, very concerning. And we're going to get into more of this. Mike also responded to the idea that Poland is just a cesspool of insanity, and he goes into deep depth on this other one that we have up here. And again, we'll put these somewhere in the descriptions below. But Mike talks directly about living, having been in Poland a lot, and as himself is a black person, how he's treated, how the interactions are. And I hear this all the time. It's like, I don't want to get too personal here, but I have been on the receiving end of pretty bad racism, in some pretty terrible places. Having been in a biracial relationship, we would arrive in places and we would be treated like crap. I would walk in and they'd go, oh, how nice to meet you. Or she would walk in and they would be, oh, how nice to meet you. And then the other party walks in and they realize that we're together. And the looks, the whispers, the snide little comments that we would get, the realization that they spat in our food because, I'm really good when noticing things like that. And we'd get up and leave. And it was just disgusting how we were treated. Now, I've been all over the States. I've been in Europe. I've been all over the place. The place where we get treated the worst, the absolute worst for being a biracial couple, is in New York and basically the entirety of the West Coast. That's where we get the most hate from the most people. And really personal. I really hate getting into personal stuff. But you want to know where the worst people are when it comes to that? Yeah, look in those two places. Anyways, I don't want to get too off track, but Mike, what Mike is saying here, as somebody who's probably in the best position to respond to this kind of stuff, this is his response. And so Mike Pondsmith, a lot of respect, a lot of understanding. I would never dare to tell you what you can and cannot be offended by. I wouldn't ever dare to tell anybody that's in Mike's position what he should or should not feel or think. But yeah, this is very, very unacceptable, generally speaking. So all right, let's move on to the
And for those who are just listening on audio, Mike basically talks about how well people treat him in Poland, and he clarifies, he's talking about just traveling around by himself in places where people don't know who he is, where they don't know he's this big game developer, and he's not in, CDPR company. He's just traveling around by himself and taking Ubers and things. And he says he's always been treated well and that the Polish people are lovely. So there you go. That's from the man himself, Mike Pondsmith. All right. So
I don't want to focus on it too much, but I do want to highlight some of our users in chat. They have also had this similar experience with living in some of these places, especially New York. And yeah, it's just, again, it's like and what you'll notice, and I really need to make a distinction here, is like the poor people, the people that are at the bottom of the totem pole, they never treat you like this. I've never been treated like that from anybody who's in the rougher side. So I want to make that clear. This is not the reaction that we get is from these really rich people. That's typically where we get this from. We don't get it from we go to the areas where everybody lives together because they're poor and they're on the bottom of they're the bottom like 5% or whatever. It's like you never get that. Everybody like comes together. You have it like you're having like a barbecue. People all come over and they share, they do stuff like that. And that's where the best community often is. It's from the snobby people who's like, oh, you can't be doing that. It's like, and again, it's like you've never experienced a day with hunger before. Why on earth would you have the right to anyways, I don't want to get too dragged down by that.
It's almost
more
as
on
if
this coming. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's almost as if the way the media portrays things is not accurate.
Yeah, it's almost as if the media is bad at their jobs.
And it's not like these media people are in the elite, wealthier classes of society. Oh, wait.
And these aren't new people. Like, whenever somebody screws up in a job and it's their first day, I have the most amount of compassion for them. If you have a bad week and it's bad, super compassionate. I would never light somebody up who's training, a trainee, because they're training. That's the whole point of it. They're gonna mess up, right? I was in a line. Some kid was getting trained on how to like be a teller or behind the counter doing the groceries, right? And there's this older lady and he kept screwing up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude, take your time. I understand you're training. It's totally fine. Like, I am not in a rush. Do not worry. In fact, I came here because I saw that you were training, and I know that I'm not going to freak. If you spilled the milk all over me and you and the floor and just like whatever, I would laugh because it would be kind of a funny story. I'm not going to get angry at you. Now, if there's like, you show up and you've been dealing with a bank teller for 55 years, right? And they accidentally clean out your bank account and sent it to the wrong account and lost that account's information, and they don't know where the money is. Well, that's where you can get angry, justifiably so. Because again, 55, they should probably be retired at that point. So let's just say 22 years, right? If you're a 22-year vet, you know what you're doing, and that's kind of a big goof, right? And I hate people who I don't hate people. I dislike people's attitudes when they are telling you that they're the professionals and that they, it's like, no, do your job. That's the primary thing. You're screwing up. You're not doing your job right. We have these journalists who are actively doing things that are bad just to get clicks. So,
all right.
Don't want to harp on that for too much. There is more to this story coming. I am looking for more stuff. I am waiting on more sources. I am looking up a lot of info. As soon as I can get it and as soon as I can confirm it, I will be passing along this information because it's this is frustrating and frankly disgusting. And we don't have a guest on today. We were going to get some guests on today, but this is also kind of dangerous to point out people in power and to say, hey, you're being, intentionally manipulative and damaging. That's a dangerous thing. You can definitely get hate thrown your way by doing that. So don't believe the negative stories. I mean, the vast majority of people aren't. right? But they are clicking on these ads, and they're clicking on these articles, and they're clicking on this stuff. Don't do that. I mean, you have the right to read this stuff, absolutely. But don't, if you know that something's wrong and you know that a site is constantly doing things to frame a narrative, you might want to think about not supporting them just in general, like finding somewhere else where you can read a copy of the article or a different take on the article. It's like maybe that's a general thought. Again, I'm not telling you if you want to go read it, you go ahead, right? Absolutely. I would never assume to tell you exactly what to do. But what I encourage you to do is to look at the stuff and at some point have a line. At some point draw a line and say, you know what? I'm not supporting this stuff anymore. So,
all right, You are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, and we love seeing everybody active in the live chat. You guys have been great today, guys and ladies. You've been fantastic. There's been, lots of great comments. I mean, so many that I can't even start to read them because, we've got some sharp ones today. We always do. We love seeing everybody active in the live chat, and if you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link to that in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S fans about all the things we love to talk about and stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. All right, did you have more to say on this media stuff, or should we get on to the trailer?
No. I spent probably a little too long on the media stuff, anyways.
Well, there was a lot.
It's
that
really tough. It's really tough. I do get into tangents, and I do have a bad habit of repeating myself. So
you've been on point today, though. No, like I don't. That does happen sometimes. I would not apply that to today. You've been on point. You had a lot of important stuff to say, and so I don't at all think that first 40 minutes of the show was a waste of time. The first 10 minutes we spent actually talking about the game and stuff. But
I do want to say you're all breathtaking. You all take my breath away. It's wonderful to have such a strong community, and the fact that we're growing so much. Like, before we were really happy when we had 20 people listening at any one of these live shows, and now we're pushing past 150. So thanks so much. And that's just what we're getting live. Like, most of the views are obviously post a live show. The vast majority of them are, and we're routinely hitting like well over 2,000 listens on just our basic stuff for most of this stuff. So we're super thankful to the community, and the support too, because the more support that we get in the shares and in the clicks, and yes, absolutely the financial ones, the more we're able to like focus in on this stuff and get deeper and develop better and better contacts. I've been really happy with how we've been able to get more and more professionals going, oh yeah, you guys, we you guys do good work. That is really good, because when we then talk to those professionals and get professional opinions on information and sources and stuff like that, that goes a really long way. So we can't have that without having the community behind us. And we're also really, really happy when we see all the likes that we get through this stuff. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. You are all breathtaking. All right. Shall we go into the trailer then?
Let's do the trailer. We're going to do it pretty quickly. We're just going to point out some obvious stuff, and then we're going to hit up more or less the gameplay. And thank you, Barwellon.
Thank you so much. Yeah. No comment there, but shout out to you.
Still don't know how to pronounce that name.
It might be... that's... it's in pounds, so... might just be Barwellon. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, there's Dex Deshawn on your screen. So if you're listening by audio, we will do our best to describe where we're at in the 2019 E3 trailer, assuming you have seen it. If you haven't by any chance, definitely pause right here and go watch it so you know what we're talking about. And just go watch it because it's awesome. But if you're watching live or if you're watching the archive on YouTube, we've got visuals on the screen right now. I'm just going to go right back to the beginning of the trailer there. Okay, there we go. CD Projekt Red presents, and then let me just see how loud it is here. All right. I just have to comment on this beautiful shot of Night City. Holy crap, is this ever gorgeous. Amazing. I mean, we've seen Night City before, but this is just, breathtaking. I love seeing it at night, too.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to share this on the Discord, right?
Oh, that is correct. I need to... 1 second, folks. This is high-tech stuff going on here.
He's talking about stuff that I don't see right now.
All right, there you go. Now you should be able to see it. All right. You can see it, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so Night City. Night City, beautiful.
So now I know where we're at.
Yeah, all right. All right, should I just move on?
Yep.
All right, so this is... So we have another shot of Night City. We've got...
Now, just pause it here. So you got the hotel. We're going to be seeing like these buildings lit up the way that they are. Again, not every building is something that you can enter or that you'll have the chance to enter. They're going to do their best, obviously, with as many as they possibly can. But it's just a technology thing. We're just not there yet, but we are getting there. We are getting there. And some of the new technology that was kind of unveiled this year, we might soon see a city where you can enter in every skyscraper. But as far as that goes, don't worry too much about it. So,
it's there's an immersion thing. I mean, yeah, in one sense you can, if you're a hacker or mercenary of some type, theoretically there's a way to get inside every building. Mm-hmm. But when you're walking around normally in real life, you can't just enter every building you come across either. So, I mean, it kind of works. I do think there's going to be a lot of buildings you can enter, but I don't think we're going to be disappointed with the scope of where we're able to go in this game. Let's put it that way. All right. Anything more about this? The No-Tell Motel, which seems odd. I seem to recall No-Tell Motel being something from an old Homestar Runner cartoon.
It's a trope that's been around for a really long time. I mean, no-tell motels are really common in a lot of places.
You don't talk about what happens.
Technically,
at the No-Tell Motel.
All hotels are no-tell hotels if you know who to talk to. Yeah.
All right, we have Andre Velasquez with another super chat. Just matching Barwalon. You're not willing to be upstaged. I see. Thank you so much, Andre. All right. So the car here shot up. So we got V stepping out and putting the handgun down the back of his pants there, the samurai jacket. I mean, all of this looks really cool. I mean, this is a cinematic, but
and I hope we're going to see the gritty hotel pathways and hallways that we're seeing here. And of course, we're seeing the body augments are really being highlighted in here, and that's cool. And again, just pause it here. I need to remind everybody that V has a huge range of customization. You can make V look like whatever you want, and they're adding more customization options. So that's pretty cool, and also maybe people can stop freaking out about the fact that the protagonist is this way. The protagonist is this way because this particular protagonist is pretty bland, right? You're meant to take it and build it in whatever direction that you want.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love Dex Deshawn. He's a great character.
He is.
He's obviously a villain, but he's got the gold arm. And,
I do love the circular bed in this scene. That's hilarious.
Bet it rotates. Now, okay, this device behind Dex, is this not this right here? Is this not the Trauma Team logo?
No, it's some of this. It's like a mobile case for like med stuff. I think that's just the medical symbol. So like, if they have to do something or pull something out, or like, obviously it's prepared, right? So
right, gotcha. All right.
The two handles on either side of it are also telling a little bit. So.
Oh, okay.
You blowing up all over the news. Are you alone?
I just want the money.
You got the chip?
So V's got the chip installed for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
He's actually put it if he had to go through like a checkpoint, then putting it into him probably the best way to get through it. And why are you holding onto this chip, sir?
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously they do a scan, but he might have equipment installed that hides it from the checkpoint, and that's probably how he got through the checkpoint. Or
Right.
it's just the safest, best way to carry something that's very, very tiny on you.
By the way,
Because obviously, probably
This-
not a good idea.
yeah, true. This collar thing of his with the glowing light inside is super awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool.
But
and
I-
people are actually building this themselves. So we're going to see this style.
I can't
at, like,
wait to see the
conventions and
cosplays. Yeah, but I just feel like it's got to be cumbersome to move in that. I don't know. Like,
Nah,
don't you feel like it would weigh you down or restrict your movement a little bit? It looks
I
pretty
doubt it.
stiff.
I've often thought that general human clothing could use more quote unquote armor on it. I don't get why people don't. And Barwell on has given us another 10 pounds and says best regards from the Triple S League. You guys are breathtaking for sure. Smiley face with the winky.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again so much. That's super helpful.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Yeah, very much. I mean, you have no idea. We like trying to do this professionally is not an easy road. And we're not quite there yet. We love the support. And that keeps us going. I mean, if we hadn't had the community behind us a year or two into this, this channel just would not exist. So thank you so much. All right. Captain Dammit says, I hope it's a helmet generator. That would be cool. Okay, let's see here.
Mm-hmm. All right, start her up.
So we've got the hacker Bug. Now we saw her in the
T-Bug.
T-Bug, yeah. So we saw her in the gameplay that the CDPR released about 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. And so she assists with one of the quests early on. Now it looks like she's actually part of Dex Deshawn's team here, which is interesting. That does say trauma team on it. Look at that at the bottom.
Yeah,
there.
it does.
So they stole a trauma team unit or something.
Captain Dammit was correct.
Yep. Okay. Dark Hollow says, I still think V's female voice sounds better overall. I'll be playing as a female V because of Jeremy Lee's voice in the game. That basically settles it. as far as at least the first time through, which version of V I'll be playing as. Okay.
Why don't you go to the bathroom, wash up? We gonna be with you in a minute.
Go to the bathroom, wash up.
Man, your neck, it's a mess.
What a weird line. Your neck, it's a mess. The evil look from Dex Deshawn here. I love the cigar with the smoke coming off of it.
And this is why you always have a camera installed to track people's faces when you turn around, because you learn a lot. You really do. You really learn a lot on how people look at you after a conversation has concluded.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Sword Sister, T-Bug's the same in both of these. And this is why personally I feel that this cinematic is actually a cinematic that may in fact be in the game. We may lose Jackie as a Vermeer type event, and Vermeer is where in Mass Effect 1 you have things kind of like, it's not just Mass Effect. BioWare has done this in a lot of games, and in a lot of other games also have it. It's like you've got the open world, and then you have like this pivotal moment. Bethesda's done this quite a bit especially with Fallout 4. You've got the moment in the open world where everything is pre-Fallout or pre-Brotherhood arriving, and then post-Brotherhood arriving. And those are two very different worlds. Same thing in Skyrim. You have pre-dragons, and you have post-dragons. The dragons don't start to spawn unless you do a particular quest. If you don't do that particular quest, then they will again not if you don't do that quest, they won't spawn. They won't arrive in random events. And we can see the same thing here where you might be able to just do random quests with this crew, but once you take that one pivotal quest, you end up losing Jackie and you end up, going through this shit show. Now, whether or not this is 100%, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. And the main reason for this is that this might be a hard curve in the story, and that it doesn't matter how you approach that one scenario, this kind of thing happens, and they may have rendered 2 of these scenes, one for male and one for female. And then that's post this scene, that's where the game really opens up. Everything before it is basically just the tutorial phase, right? And then everything after this event is going to be obviously its own thing. And we don't know, we don't know how that's going to play into the game right now. It'll probably go this way, because waking up in the trash heap with Johnny Silverhand standing over you, that might be that might actually be the actual beginning to the game, to the not the beginning of the game, but the beginning of the where everything is opened up and you go from anywhere at that point.
Absolutely,
right?
because we know Johnny Silverhand is a digital ghost or hologram of some kind that lives in your head throughout the whole game, basically, through most of the game.
And that doesn't happen until this particular scene.
Right.
So this is why I said the other day, too, is that I don't think we have, and I've been trying to confirm it. We've sent off some requests for information. And by the way, Barwell, again, sent in another donation. You're really outdoing yourself today. It's only one road to enter the Matrix. What pill will you choose? And that's great. That's a great reference to the Matrix.
Which pill do I have to take to enter Cyberpunk?
Yeah. So in this cinematic, we see that V does kill some people. We don't know if V actually kills T-Bug and everybody else in the room here. We're kind of assuming that he doesn't kill
that
Dex
nameless
Sean.
thug. Yeah, it's
we do kill the one dude. We know that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's pretty much gone.
He diced him up real good. So yeah.
Now let's just play this here a bit more.
Yeah. Just
so
go
now,
through it.
Do you think we're gonna get reflections like this?
We've already seen a screenshot from some of the reflections. Yeah, and this is what they were talking about by adding mirrors and selfies into the game, is so that you can see your character.
Because those are technically mirrors. They're very technically demanding.
Yeah, well, not really. I mean, mirrors have been in since Doom. I mean,
well, yeah, but they're often they're typically dumbed down reflections. I don't know. I mean, depends how they do it. But
Sturgeon Monday in the comments, he very interesting line, and I completely agree. And I've been hinted at it for a little while. Johnny Silverhand is not the nicest person in the world. No, he's not, and he's been away from his girlfriend for quite a while as well. So, yeah, just some food for thought.
So he might be, yeah. Plus he's Keanu, and Keanu's at his best when he's pissed off.
So we didn't see him take out anybody in that particular moment. Now, people were talking about this scene. They're like, oh, they were together, they were a couple. It's like, I'm sure that's an option, but I don't see how. I don't see how exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing to really Yeah, Jackie touches his face here, but they're.
Now,
he's in his last moments. What are you gonna do, man?
And again, this is something that you don't know unless you've been there. But people who survive and fight in the trenches together, the relationship you develop with somebody who every day their actions save your butt or can put your butt in the ground, and vice versa, you develop really deep, friendships with these people. So really deep relationships. HTK Gaming with another $10 says, this isn't the beginning of the game. Last year's gameplay demo was the prologue within the game, is roughly 10 hours into it or so, pretty much the same spot where when you leave the first zone of The Witcher 3. And exactly, this is what I'm saying. It's not the first. It's like you're going to have the tutorial / beginning area where a bunch of the other areas are locked off or you can't get to. And you do a number of hours developing characters, getting the backstory, running around. That could be 5 hours, that could be 10 hours, that could be 15 hours, depending on how quickly you play through it. And then you get this big moment, and it's the same in some of the other games. A little like Fallout 4. It's kind of, you can put in. I mean, you don't have to ever call the Brotherhood in, because you can totally say, oh yeah, my son. I was supposed to look for my kidnapped child. Oh, that's so odd, because I got distracted by planting all my mute fruit and my tater fruit, or my tater plants, and building the settlements up, I just completely forgot that I had a kidnapped child. It's like you can totally do that. You spend like 20-30 hours pre Brotherhood and Fallout 4, and I feel and with The Witcher 3 you had, again, it's like you spend a good amount of time running around in the game in these pre areas before the big turn happens. And I'm making the prediction now that there's going to be this big turn where this event happens, and that this event is basically like, you're not going to get away from this. This is where this stuff kind of takes the turn. So yeah, keep going.
All right.
But yeah, Jackie's wounded, and V looks like he's a little, doesn't really quite understand what's going on until it's a little bit too late. And unfortunately, Jackie. Poor Jackie. Gives him the card, and
so Jackie
again,
was holding
we see
the
it's
chip,
really,
and then
we see it's really, really tiny, and that might be why. Pause it here. This might be why Jackie dies in this scene, and it's a hard death, because in any scenario that you set it up, Jackie's the one who goes to get the chip, and everything goes sideways, and you as the player can't stop that from happening. And that's where Jackie picks up the fatal wound, and then you have to extract, and this is where the handoff happens, and this is where it kind of goes from there. So,
right,
that's my idea on the story. That's basically where I think how this is going to come together. Obviously, we'll see in a few weeks.
Punch in the face.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay. So he's got the blade attachments, which is super cool. Well, now what happens in this scene if you don't opt for the blade?
I think the blades are going to be like a standard augment. Again, I think the blades are going to be installed in V in the tutorial, the quote tutorial phase of the game, and that up to this point you're not going to have the ability to remove them or switch out to something else.
Yeah,
this is how the world building goes, is that you have this one set that leads into the next set.
Right.
You have a pre-scenario where the game is really restricted, but it's allowing you to build up, explore things, figure out the basics without throwing you into the insanity that is everything in an open world game. Almost all open world games have this. Very few have a limited run. Even Skyrim has that first mission that you have to do, and you're prevented from getting out and going to other places. You have to follow the little path, complete the quote-unquote tutorial area. Now, for some games, that's 5 minutes. Other games, that's 20 minutes. Other games, that's 5 hours, another game that's 10 hours, right? So
yeah, Mini Melly Cat makes a point here. He punches him in the head and then chokes him around the neck when he's got the chip they want installed in his neck. This doesn't seem too smart on their part.
the chip is probably quite durable, I would imagine.
And Darkus points out they confirmed that only the hand graft grip and the eyes are mandatory as far as cyber upgrades. And actually, that is one thing that came out of the Young Yaya interview as well. The mission designer there said that only the eye was mandatory. I hadn't heard about the hand graft. Anyway, apparently there's a little bit of confusion about this. All right.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's a confusion because not everybody, even in the company, knows exactly what's happening in every aspect of the game yet, because they keep things somewhat sectioned off. There's some people who know everything there is to know about the lore and the story, for sure, but not everybody knows exactly what is going on between all of the levels. So,
Barbalon again. Wow, thank you so much.
Seriously.
So Barbalon says, "What's the best with CDPR? It's we all have our own stories to tell." Oh, I see what you're saying. What's the best with CDPR is we all have our own stories to tell. Like Keanu said, he likes interesting stories, and Cyberpunk 2077 will allow that for us. Absolutely, 100% agree. One of the things that I love about the idea of this game is that I'll play it, and I'll have my own story to tell, and Cyb will play it, and he'll have his own story, and you'll all play it, you'll have your own stories, and we can talk about those and be like, oh yeah, I got this, oh well, I did this, and then this happened, and da-da-da, we'll be able to explore a bunch of basically alternate realities within this game world. All right. Yes, Barwalon is clearly a corpo, Mini Melly Cat. Okay. So Dex is pissed off here because the cops are going to be all over them, apparently, and that's one thing I've wondered is, like, how do you hide in this world when they clearly will have really good tracking technology? Mm-hmm. I guess you can implant stuff that, like, shields you from it. I don't know.
Well, maybe if you were to ask somebody who literally spends most of their time doing cloak and dagger stuff in various places and companies around the world.
I mean, in this world, not in our world. I mean, in this cyberpunk world.
Oh, yeah.
Which, well, I guess the lines are becoming blurred.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
So we have this interesting scene here. So V's about to pass out, then suddenly, well, okay, we get this flashback, and then boom, he wakes up, gets a jolt of adrenaline or whatever. So that guy's dead. I'm sorry, this makes me laugh every single time. Dex falls over like...
falls backwards.
Dex just falls down like a bitch.
Yeah.
Good grief. And T-Bug, now this is cool. T-Bug is just kind of like mentally hacking his cyberware here, trying to stop him. Let's watch that again.
And we're gonna have this kind of like that's clearly an ability in the game that you're going to be able to use to do it. I think you're gonna have access to this if you roll with this ability.
Yeah. Mad with the super chat. Wow, you guys are crazy today. Thank you so much. Mad asks, so what's going on with the Trauma Team International website? I have no idea. I think Cyb is probably going to navigate there right now. But, like, I'm not familiar with what you're referring to. Is something happening with... Okay, I'll continue this here while Cyb looks into that. So, yeah, so T-Bug. So, and if you go the hacker/netrunner route, you'll probably have... Like, you'll have access to some of these abilities, being able to hack your enemy's cyberware, things like that. Cause their guns to not work because everything's connected, and that's why you should never save your Wi-Fi password on your gun. Lessons for the future. All right. So carrying on here. So this is this is cool. There's some interesting information on this screen here. So there's this warning in the bottom left that says System Breach Mantis Blades. So that's T-Bug hacking you there. And this is the this is first person where he raises the gun up here. It looks like he shoots T-Bug there. Let's just get another look at that. Yeah, like it really looks like he shoots her. Like you look at this freeze frame right here. So she's been hit by the bullet, but
clearly dangerous headshot. So
was it a headshot or what? I thought that this right here is where the bullet hit in her chest. Although the way her head is flung back, it could be that it was a headshot. Mm-hmm. So she might be dead after this. We don't know. I mean, in this world, who knows? Who knows?
Well, they specifically blurred that moment where she took the shot. So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, and then so Dex goes for his gun. Mm-hmm. After tripping, like, oh man, learn to walk, dude. And then, I was trying to freeze it right on the last frame there. We hear a gun go off. So it looks like he shoots or Dex... Dex clearly shoots.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. I had this totally wrong. Dex shoots him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot Dex is alive. There was some there was some confusion on this during the trailer. No. Dex came out the winner here because that's how V ends up in the garbage heap.
Right. Well, I just wonder how V ends up not dead and still has the chip.
Well, if you're Dex and you're in a scenario where you just had your tech support and your muscle get shot, you've got the police bearing down on your position, and you've got to cover your tracks because you don't want anything leading back to you. You don't exactly have time to your options are kind of limited, and especially if you're panicking, the thought or the immediate reaction would be to stuff everybody into a garbage heap or into your vehicle, go to the nearest garbage heap, dump everybody who's dead, and then take anybody else who can be recovered with you when you take off. So
right,
that's more or less how that works.
It just doesn't seem
having definitely not been in that position before. Definitely not been in that position before. Just want to make that extremely clear.
Okay, well, I mean, it just seems really stupid of him to not remember to take the chip or to leave it behind.
Well, and again, it's not the first time that when a deal goes south that you're not interested in recovering the thing that you spent a lot of money on getting. You're interested in surviving, and that chip becomes a giant target on your back, so it's better to just leave it. Again, having never been in a scenario where this is even remotely similar in any way, shape, or form.
It seems like he should, even though he lost, the two people who were working with him right here, it seems like he should have the resources to protect himself. Whatever.
Nope.
We'll find out more. So, yeah. Cyberpunk. System rebooting. Then, of course, the iconic scene.
Wake the fuck up, samurai.
This glitch here, this glitch out, so immediately showing us that
for sure.
Silverhand is, he's not really there, or at least not physically there. He is some kind of a projection or hologram of some kind. Probably projected on V's... Well, we know. He's projected on V's mind. V is the only one who can see him. At least. Yeah, and I suspect that he's connected to the chip that's in your head somehow.
Yeah.
We have a city to burn.
and breathtaking. I love it. And then this song, Chip, which I'm gonna mute this just in case.
Yeah.
No, of course, we see the.
Yeah.
This is the regular edition of the physical copy of the game you could buy. It has some Night City postcards included in it. It's got these stickers. It's got a map of Night City and it also includes a guide to the world. So, do they show the special edition here?
No, I don't think so. So that's it. We're good. So the big takeaways from the last scene is that this is going to be kind of like the reset where you're starting from scratch again. You probably don't have any items after this. You probably your apartment's probably toast, and you got to find a new one. You could probably have to like swap some identity stuff. So yeah, this is the moment where we're going to have the big turnaround in the story, and that's why I believe that this is like a Vermeer scenario where everything coming up to this is one thing, everything post this is something completely different. I should really stick to Brotherhood. This is a Brotherhood moment. Everything after the world's completely changed after this event, because everybody wants this chip, and Johnny has his own. He's got his own plans for this chip, and he's got his own thing going on here, and he's his own character. He's may or may not end up agreeing with what the player is doing and the choices that the player is making, and there may not be a big moment in which the game where you have to make a choice, and that's where the game is basically taking you to. So wink wink, nudge nudge. So yeah, this is really interesting, and we were gonna do that like earlier on, but things just went crazy busy this week. We were gonna try to do that on Monday, and it just kept on getting pushed back like crazy. So yeah, that's basically it. Now the gameplay, we're probably it's probably gonna. So the gameplay, we'll do our own video on that probably a little bit later. But the gameplay, generally speaking, right now there's a ton there. We're gonna go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But yeah, we probably should touch on like one or two other quick things before calling it. Or do you want to keep pushing? Or can you keep pushing?
I'm sorry, can I keep pushing what?
The podcast. Do we want to drag it on for another 40 minutes or not?
40 minutes? No, we should probably. If it's going to take that long, we'll push that on to another day.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's I'm even as I've been chatting here, I've been getting like more feedback on this whole scenario with the articles and the blowback and all this other kind of stuff, and it's interesting to say the least. It's very interesting. I can't talk about any of the stuff that I just received, but this is going to become a big thing. I think this is going to become kind of a pivotal moment. I mean, it already has been a pivotal moment for a lot of things, and we're seeing a lot of the negativity spread out to various things. So there's more going on here than what you might first see. But for those of us who are interested in Cyberpunk and not necessarily the politics around Cyberpunk, this is a great time. The gameplay was really solid. We've heard some things that, and I want to address this. So the gunplay, some people are saying it's still a little bit stiff. It's still not perfect. Yada yada yada. That is unfortunately due to the engine. I don't think that they will get the gunplay to a 10 out of 10. I think they will get it to a maximum of like an 8.5 out of 10, which is still very high. And of course, as they did say, this is an RPG first, then a shooter. And there are certain things that you have to sacrifice in the world of being a perfect shooter that would end up hurting the ability to be an RPG. There's a reason why you can't take a lot of the shooting engines that just focus on that as a core concept. Why you can't and why you don't make good RPGs out of them. I mean, if you want any big evidence on this, all you have to do is look at EA and that dang engine that has ruined, already so many different things. It's not meant for being an RPG. It takes years, almost a decade worth of work to turn that engine into anything that can be used for an RPG. And even with Anthem, it was a complete and total failure. So basically, yeah, there's some technical limitations there. Again, they've got it. I think the shooting's a good, solid 8.5, maybe a 9 out of 10. And that is not a bad thing. There are some people, the shooter purists who are like, it's not as smooth as, this shooter or that shooter. Yeah, because it's not a shooter, it's an RPG. Come on, like, there's more abilities in there. There's going to be just as many abilities as there is ways to kill people with guns, right? So this is an important thing to remember and focus on, that this is not a shooter first, this is an RPG first. And this was reiterated again this last couple of days.
Right. So. Okay. Sounds good. And with that, we will wrap up the show for today. But thank you so much, everybody, for supporting us, for supporting this show, for the great conversation in the chat. Thank you for all of the very generous Super Chat donations today. We really appreciate it. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Shannon Vega, Old Man Manson, Evolution, and our 2 anonymous supporters, our channel members, Captain Dammit and Jason Cropper. And please don't forget to slam that like button before you leave if you appreciate this content. That really helps us, helps the algorithms. If you're listening after the fact, leave a comment below. And if you're listening on one of the audio platforms, we thank you for your follows and likes and subscriptions there as well. And feel free to join us Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings for the live show where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Asheninity. That other voice was Cybsidian. You are all breathtaking, and we thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.